Hello Australia and welcome to Redback's first ever Government Business Skills webinar. I'm Daniel Kim, your host for this brand new educational series aimed at you working in the government sector. This is a brand new initiative from Redback Conferencing. We are into the 5th year of our monthly business skills series, which has been highly successful and it's been a great lot of fun, but it is 2018 after all. We were looking for new areas to move into and government is one of the largest areas we serve at Redback. And so we are very pleased to bring you the Government Business Skills webinar series, which is all about informing, educating and inspiring members of our public sector. It's fantastic to have you with us for the launch. On the program today, we are talking about influence, and we all know how difficult it can be at times to get an idea across in the workplace when it comes to influencing individuals, groups and their decisions. This is especially true in the world of government, where things move at a different pace to the business world. Well, joining me live in the studio to talk about all of this and how you can influence with impact in spite of resistance is our professional relevance and leadership development and relevance guru, Rick Gilmore from Good Company Coaching. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you.
Just let me say, big congratulations to you and the Redback team for launching the Government Business Skills series. And I've been a fan of Redback Conferencing for a while now, so I'm really touched and chuffed that you've invited me along to kickstart the series for you here.
Oh, thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. It's going to be a great series, really.
Oh, well, yeah, that's right.
Well, today's topic is about influencing, and it's a very important topic for most people in their professional skill sets.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. Yep. And that's why you're right in saying that the influencing mindset and skill set is increasingly on the rise in government sector these days.
Yep.
And yeah, so you're totally on the money in saying why it's important that we're here to talk about this today.
That's right. And you yourself, you were one of Australia's pioneer executive coaches when it all started in Australia, really, and you've been involved in the public sector, the private sector, and everything in between. So you're somebody who knows what you're talking about.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, and thanks very much for that, by the way, Daniel. Very kind of you.
No worries. Well, for the benefit of our audience today, would you mind giving us a bit of an outline of what you're going to cover today?
Okay. Well, before I do that, I'll just want to say you're right that influencing is a critical skill set these days, and so I'm aware that you're probably on this call for all sorts of influencing reasons. Maybe on this call because you're tired of talking to people who just want to believe what they want to believe, or maybe you're feeling frustrated by people who just seem to want to rain on your parade all the time, or maybe you're feeling let down by people who just seem to drag things out and every stretch of the way it's a struggle. Or maybe you just simply want to hope that people trust and appreciate what you're doing more. So whatever the reasons you're on this call for, strap on your seatbelts because we're going to cover a lot of ground and it's going to be a lot of fun. But Daniel, there's just one thing I just want to say before we get started. Bear in mind that the whole area of influencing is a big, hairy topic. And so I haven't got time to cover it all in our session today, such the challenging nature of time. So we're going to narrow our focus down today, and we're specifically going to look at how to influence with impact when you're hitting up against pushback and resistances and objections in all ways, shapes and forms. And now the good news is that overcoming resistances and handling pushbacks is a learnable skill, and that's exactly what we're going to focus on in this session today. So a little bit about what we're going to be covering.
That's right, and I think that sounds like it's a great use of our time really together.
Yep, so...
And we should probably ask the audience if they agree with us.
But I'll just walk you through what we are going to cover first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's quite all right.
Because that's what you did ask me.
Yes.
So a little bit what we're covering. First up, not yet in a moment, we'll walk you through an assessment on just how to gauge how effective an influencer you are right now. After that, we'll cover the 3 core roadblocks to stop anybody from stopping or listening or responding to you. And then we'll walk through the triggers or basic reasons behind just about any pushback you might encounter on planet Earth and what to do about them. And then finally, we'll wrap it all up and one of my pet topics, and we'll look at why influencing doesn't have to take a long time. Now the best part of all this is everything you're about to hear kind of goes hand in hand. And so my commitment to you in this webcast is that you'll walk away with the right insights and mindset you need to communicate with impact, to be confident about your agency's mandate, and be yourself at all times. So hopefully that's a good use of our time together today, Daniel. So maybe before we start, let's just do a quick poll on Are you in the right webcast?
Absolutely, Rick. It does sound like a great use of our time.
Yeah.
And you will see a button pop up on your screens. It's a poll, are you in the right webcast? It's a yes or no question, so do let us know if you agree with the agenda today. That is what we've got on the program. Now, it sounds like there's a lot to cover, Rick.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to be moving through it pretty fast. So how are we going on the poll there? Are we getting a thumbs up?
Well, actually, we haven't got any of the responses coming through just at the moment, but I'm sure we'll be getting some soon through. At the moment, it looks like we're coming through with a 84% yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good. 84% is good.
That's a good majority, isn't it? Yes. So, and of course, Rick will be helping us kick off our new series with a very special offer where the first 5 people will receive a free 20-minute consultation call with Rick. That's coming up at the end of the webcast. So if you are keen on getting help with an influencing challenge you might have, make sure you stick around till the end. Thanks for joining us. And Rick, it's over to you.
Righto, let's get started then. So let's just start by looking at the ground truth of your influencing situation right now. So if you will, I'd just like you to imagine an influencing situation you might be involved in right now, or might be one that's looming. And just go ahead and ask yourself and rate yourself in terms of how impactful an influencer you think you are now. So for example, low impact might be you're staring down a lot of no's and gazing at naysayers. Mid-impact might be more, you tend to be more hit and miss. And higher impact might be your influencer success on steroids, so you're a highly successful influencer. So just go ahead now. What's your best guess on how effective and powerful an influencer you are right now? And we've got a poll here, Daniel, to help you do that.
Yeah, that's right. So we will cut over to the next poll. You will see another pop up on your screen. And the question is, how influence with impact ready are you? And your 3 options are low impact, medium impact, and high impact. So would you be able to talk us through what all of those options mean, Rick?
Well, essentially, like I just said, basically, it's just more for our purposes right now. It's just what's your best guess simply around where you're at. How are we going there?
We're getting a 72% low impact, a 14% medium impact, and everybody else is a high impact.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's just really reality of it is, not what you like it to be. When we know where we're at, it helps us to know where we want to be. So that's good.
Sounds like most people on the webcast are really keen on getting some new ideas.
Yeah. No, it definitely does. So basically, if you're not got high impact happening and you're not sort of successful on online influencer like on steroids, then don't be disheartened, because an oft-quoted Stanford University result shows that a whopping 9 out of 10 communication interactions and influencing opportunities tend to completely miss the mark. Now, this is tragic. Now, I don't know whether we're living in a time, especially where communication breakdown's the norm, or whether these Stanford results are a tad over the top and alarm us. But what I do know is there are 3 core roadblocks that everybody hits up against these days when they're trying to influence a situation or get outcomes of any description. And so whether you're in, and they're across all levels of government as well, so whether you're in the federal or whether you're in the state or when you're the local, you will experience these 3 core roadblocks. No one in government is exempt from them. So let me introduce you to the 3 core roadblocks then.
Yes, please, show me.
Okay. And they are ambiguity aversion.
Ambiguity aversion.
Ambiguity aversion, my side bias.
My side bias.
And monkey mind.
And monkey mind.
Monkey mind.
Gee.
Yeah?
All new terms to me, Rick.
Are they?
Yeah, what do they all mean?
I'm a bit surprised to hear that. Yeah, okay, no, good.
Well, I'm sure I've heard monkey mind in other contexts, but not necessarily in terms of influencing in the government sector.
Well, let's stay tuned and find out. Maybe, maybe not. So I'm going to walk you through the 3 core roadblocks now, one at a time. Bear in mind, I'm going to zip through them pretty fast, because what to do about them I'm going to cover a little bit later in the session when we get to the pushback tools I'll be revealing later. So the first one up, ambiguity aversion.
Ambiguity.
So what's ambiguity aversion all about, Daniel?
Well, I wouldn't really know. Maybe just clarifying yourself? Is that what it means?
Oh, maybe just clarify. No, that's probably not what it means.
Wait, hang on. We're talking about roadblocks. So we're talking about when people aren't happy about being influenced by you. So maybe they don't like it when things aren't clear?
Yes, that's getting closer. Yeah,
Okay.
you can play that old game, hot and cold. That's definitely getting hot.
20 questions.
Yeah. Basically, it seems that we humans are wired for certainty. So an ambiguity aversion is when that old saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't, really comes into its own and meets the mark. It seems like we humans, we prefer to have a bad outcome or know about something that will go wrong or that we can anticipate in advance than to face an unknown or something we can't anticipate. Yeah?
Yep.
Even if it is the right thing to do and can lead to the best possible outcomes. Yeah?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's like basic human nature, isn't it? You want to be averse to the risk.
This is all basically human nature.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the old pleasure pain continuum thing. So what this means is that we'd rather have a drawback or an obstacle or an adverse experience that we know about in advance than to experiment and try on new things that you know are going to lead to a better result. So that's really what it's about. So what this means is, yes, you might have the most impressive and progressive policy with which to impress the minister with, or yes, you might have the right regulation to ward off unwanted community behaviour, or you might have the simplest guidelines and paint-by-number protocols to assist decision-making. But that doesn't mean your colleagues and your stakeholders are going to have the gumption to want to go with you. Because you see, the thing is, yes, the opportunity to future-proof the organisation and protect the community might be increasing. Guess what? So's all the ambiguity and uncertainty.
Right.
Yeah. So let me be blunt. An ambiguous and blurred mind tends to want to run away or sit on the fence or resist things, especially in the face of new things and when you don't know what's going to happen. So you may want to write this down. An ambiguous and blurred mind says no.
An ambiguous and blurred mind says no.
An ambiguous and blurred mind says no.
That's a good principle to understand.
Yeah. So we want certainty. We don't want uncertainty. We like the known. We don't like the unknown. So rule of thumb, do your due diligence and detective work on their AA.
AA, ambiguity aversion.
That's ambiguity aversion.
AA.
Yeah. Not Daniel, and not the other one.
Yep.
And do double down and cognise and have a healthy respect for the devils that they know. And remember, it's all about the devils they know, the devil they don't. So have a healthy respect for the devils they know. But also, don't let their devils stop you from putting your best foot forward. Because the thing to remember is they're their devils, not yours. Yeah.
That's the key to understanding.
That's the key thing to understand. So you absolutely have a healthy respect for the devils that they know. Don't let them stop you, though, because they are their devils.
Well, that's very important, right? Because when we often have an influencing challenge, we often think about our own internal devils that we know versus the ones we don't know.
Works both ways.
And we assume that everyone's going to be on the same page as us, and that's where half the communication breakdown is. They're not always thinking the same as we are.
And that's a good point and great point to segue actually into the second one, Daniel. We're very on the money there, very on the mark. The second one, kind of related to ambiguity aversion, is my side bias.
Right.
Now, in line with what you're just speaking about, you hear a lot of people banging on these days around what's called cognitive bias or cognitive dissonance.
Oh, yes?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so in the world of cognitive bias, there's a subset called confirmation bias.
Yes.
Or my side alone bias.
Yep.
Now, that's a fancy way of saying that we tend to see evidence and proof and information that proves we were right all along or we weren't wrong.
Yep.
So in the world of my side alone bias, you can always rely on our brains to see things and filter things that we're already looking for.
Selective hearing, selective memory, right?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's all under my side alone bias.
Yeah.
You can always rely on our brains to calculate and justify and rationalise and make excuses in our own favour and minimise and deny our role in dumb decisions.
Is that a self-preservation thing from our brain?
Well, at heart, all these sort of wired
Yep.
aspects are all about the survival instinct if we go into it a bit more around the neuroscience at all. So we want to just minimise our role in dumb decision. Of course, we also like to maximise the role of other dumber decision makers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the world of my side alone bias, believing is seeing.
As
Believing
opposed
is
to the other way
seeing
around.
rather than seeing is believing.
Yeah.
And it's never our fault.
Never.
Yeah. You see this being played out in school playgrounds all day long. You'll see them. It's not my fault, she started it. Or Bart Simpson's, I didn't do it. That's all versions of
my side bias.
my side bias.
Which is the second big roadblock that we
Yeah,
come
and
across.
so I suppose in summary, the important thing to hear about my side bias is that we're predisposed to seeing things that confirm our pre-existing beliefs and expectations, and we filter out anything that might want to challenge or contradict them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And of course, this can lead to really big blind spots and poor choices, and steer us towards suboptimal decisions that won't work for us in the long run. So the quick thing to get here is, if saying yes to my preferred option or outcome, if saying yes to my preferred outcome makes me right and you wrong, then expect fireworks, or expect them to be, folded arms or finger tapping or sitting on the fence, because they won't want to say yes, because making yes is going to make them wrong, and they just want to believe what they want to believe.
And nobody wants to be wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my subtle and bias. Got that one?
Got that one. Ambiguity aversion, my side bias.
Thank you, Darren. Yeah. Right. And of course, the third one you need to know and understand how it all works is the one you mentioned at the start, which is monkey mind.
Monkey mind.
One of my favourites is both an oldie and a newbie, and you're right. It's originally a Buddhist term.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
A Buddhist term?
Yeah, Buddhist, absolutely Buddhist term.
Right. What does it mean?
Well, we'll talk about that one out the end of it, but basically it means that the mind is like a monkey. It's always sort of jumping from one tree to another, always anxious and on the move. That's monkey mind, and
Right.
our minds are like that.
Right. And the 21st century version of that might be our mind is like an internet browser with a billion tabs open. We're going from one tab to the other. We're trying to work out where the audio is coming from. Which tab is it?
Thank you. That's right. Yeah. I mean, it's been said we live and work in an age of disruption these days, and some people say that probably a better way to describe it is it's an age of distraction. And in the age of distraction, attention is now the new currency.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Now, so in plain English, what that means, the competition for people's attention has never been fiercer. So I don't know if you're aware of the Time magazine research from a few years back now, Daniel. Time magazine did these stats. Apparently, they made it official back in 2015 that we human beings' attention span now has dropped below that of a goldfish.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, no, really.
Surely not.
Yeah, surely.
Not below that of a goldfish.
Dropped below that of a goldfish. Apparently, the goldfish has got an attention span of 9 seconds.
Yeah, something like that. It's pretty
and
drastic.
now we're on average got an attention span of 8 seconds.
All right. Well, we're 20 minutes into this webcast, so we're doing pretty well for ourselves, Rick.
We better move on to class. And so basically, I don't know whether the Time magazine statistics is an urban myth that needs bursting, but I do know our attention is under severe attack, and it seems like we're losing the war on attention and losing our ability to remain focused and attentive for longer periods of time. And I believe, and in fact, actually I know, is that our attention is our most valuable resource. And so the unsatisfactory reality is that we're all grappling with, the old adage, be here now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if we're honest with ourselves, Daniel, you and I both know that we don't always bring our full energy and attention and focus to what's happening in the moment, yeah?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And I think, would you agree that it's more of a challenge increasingly so with the younger generation coming through?
Well, that's another conversation. As I said, monkey mind's both an oldie and a newbie. It's always been the case all through history, but yes, that you could say, particularly around the context and time we live in now, as I said, attention's under maybe more attack than ever before.
Sure, yeah. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's not a generational thing. Maybe it's just the age thing. I'm thinking of people on their mobile phones while they're walking on the streets, narrowly missing cars.
Well, that's all contributing.
People not paying attention at home when someone's trying to have a conversation with them, things like that.
Yeah, and of course it's not happening between you and me.
Oh,
now,
absolutely not. Not by a long shot, Rick.
So, but the point to get is, if you and I are doing mind wandering, who else is doing it?
Hopefully not everybody watching the webcast.
Not everybody watching, but perhaps maybe your stakeholders and the people you might want to influence are as well.
Yes.
Yeah, you
yes.
get what I'm saying here.
Yeah, it is. So if you're going to influence these stakeholders and the decision-making groups, you better make sure they're paying attention. Otherwise, who are you talking to?
Well, it's more these three roadblocks. That's why I say they're core roadblocks, like ambiguity, aversion, my side bias, and monkey mind. Unless you're aware of them, they can sabotage and stop you in your tracks, and they can stall or derail the best intended initiatives and rob you of the outcomes you're trying to achieve.
Yep.
Yeah, that's more the important. And they will hold you back. It's just how it works. So maybe before we move on, let's just do a quick poll on which one of the three do you think is most holding you back now?
So yes, time for another quick poll. We'll be having another pop-up on your screen, and you've got 4 options to choose from. The question being, which core roadblock is the one holding you most back? Ambiguity version is the first one, my side bias the second, the third monkey mind, and the fourth a combination of all 3.
Yeah, so maybe you think it's ambiguity version, maybe you think my side bias is doing the most damage, maybe you think monkey mind's the culprit, or maybe a combo.
Well, at the moment, the most popular response that's coming through, Rick, is monkey mind.
Monkey mind?
I mean,
good, my favourite.
I would have thought some sort of combination of all 3, but it looks like monkey mind is the...
How is it coming through?
It's close to 92%.
Monkey mind?
Yeah, monkey mind.
Ah, well done, team.
It is your favourite one after all, isn't it?
Yes. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much. Now we're going to move on to what I'm calling the predictable pushbacks. And so before we move on to that, I just want to say that many top-shelf influencers, presenters and communicators all tend to agree there's probably just a handful of primary pushbacks, Daniel, or basic reasons behind pretty well every no you might encounter. Now, for sure, the actual language you might hear may not be exactly in the language I'm going to reveal to you now, but I'm willing to wager most of the time, most of the pushback and resistance you come up across is going to be one of the ones I'm going to reveal to you right now.
Got it.
Yeah, so like the 3 core roadblocks, I'm going to walk through them one at a time. And maybe before we do that, just have a quick stretch, guys, and have a quick sip of water before we move on to them. This is the nuts and bolts of the session.
Having a good stretch is always important in life, whether you're watching a webcast, presenting on one, or just going to work.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I actually had a good enough one.
Well, I'm not much of a morning person either, and I'm glad I had my morning coffee. That's the most important thing for me.
Righto. So let's have a look at the what I'm calling the predictable pushbacks. All right, so here they are. So first up, the first one is, up the top there, it won't work.
Won't work. That's one I've heard before.
Yeah, I'm sure you heard that one before. The second one, a little bit different, it won't work for me. The third one, it's too hard. The fourth one, I can wait. Number 5, probably one we're all familiar with, it costs too much. And the last one is, I need to ask for permission. I need to ask for permission.
Got it. So they're the 7 most common responses that you get. Sorry, 6. I can't even count now, can I?
That's right. Yeah.
I did have my coffee.
When push comes to shove, you'll find most resistances you hit up against are actually going to be a version of one of these. Yeah. You probably can relate to them all. But let's just do a quick poll on, again, Dan, which one you think is the one you think is the most difficult to overcome.
That's right. So we are going to the next poll question, which is, which predictable pushback do you think is the most difficult to overcome? So you've got the 6 options there on your screen. It is a pop-up, so please choose one and let us know. It won't work. It won't work for me. It's too hard. It costs too much. It can wait, or I can wait. And I need to ask permission. They are the 6 responses. So do let us know what you're thinking. Rick, just on face value, I'm thinking potentially the hardest one to overcome might be I can wait. That's just my initial thoughts. A lot of the other ones might be fact-based. I'm thinking, this is just me thinking out loud. I can wait. That's an internal thing where this person doesn't see or doesn't feel the burning fire. They don't feel the urgency.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, you might have some great techniques to help them feel the urgency or help me convey that urgency.
Well, may I have those great techniques?
In terms of
may you think I can wait is one option. So let's get stuck into them.
Well, just before we do, the poll responses are coming through and the majority is coming for I need to ask permission, which I think,
beauty. No.
Given the government context, you're not always in a position to make calls by yourself. There are processes and protocols that you've got to
hang on there, Daniel. No, you're right, and good call. So let's go through them, and I'll along the way I'll give you my 2 cents worth what I think is the one that actually is the most difficult to overcome. All right. The first cab off the rank is it won't work.
It won't work.
It won't work. Now, the truth is anyone can promise anything, can't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But it's also true enough to be said that they won't necessarily always believe that what you say you can do until you prove it, will they?
No, that's right. You need to be able to back it up.
Yeah, you need to be able to back it up. So yes, they might trust you. They might see a lot of value in your solution and your service or what you're talking about. But that doesn't mean they believe you. So it won't work. It's all about believability. And it's all about what you can bring to bear to prove that what you say and will do will work and that you can deliver on your promises. I mean, quite often we forget to do that and we leave it up to them to take a great leap of faith, when in fact the trick is to overload them with bucket loads of undeniable and overwhelming evidence that what you say and will do will work.
Yep.
Yeah? So the point of power, maybe write this one down, the point of power is in the proof.
The point of power
The point of power is in the proof.
Right, that's the mantra for this one.
Yeah, perhaps we could call it a mantra, yeah, if you like to run with the mantra theme. So then the question becomes, well, what type of proof are we talking about?
I was going to say, I mean, a lot of people can take statistical evidence, they can take survey results, if you've got some sort of agenda that you'd like to get approved. But then again, it could also be a chicken and egg concept scenario where people will say, well, okay, well, in order for me to approve this new research to get the data, I need approval.
Well, there you're getting more into the permission one.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
so let's just hold your horses on that one.
I will.
Yeah, ahead of the game there, but good. No, but it's more what sort of proof, but you're right. It can be data, it can be quantitative results, it can be your awards, your credentials, surveys, it can be what sort of esteemed academics or subject matter experts or luminaries, both local, national, international, do you have in your hip pocket backing what you say you're here to do. Of course, it can be case studies and your unforgettable stories and your zinger testimonials that, show why your agency can do the thing you say you can do.
Well, on that note, Rick, so you've given us a list of lots of different types of proofs. But how much proof is enough?
How much proof? Well, may you ask, how much proof enough? The short answer is that all the more the merrier. But obviously, at some stage, you go, enough is enough, and you have to.
Yeah, I mean, and surely at some point you've driven the point home.
Well, it's a bit like in sport or in tennis. It's like there's never enough preparation, but at some point, you have to get on with it.
Yep, absolutely.
If you know what I mean there.
Yes.
But the thing to get though, as good as the point of power and the proof is, you're always going to miss one special group of people out there, and these are the special petals, the people who believe no matter how much proof and evidence you show them that their situation is different or they're special. And so this is the second one around it won't work for me or it won't work for us. So essentially the scary part about these guys is they may even actively look for reasons to show why your thing won't work for them, and they can even invent reasons to disqualify themselves without even knowing it. Yeah?
Right. It might even be a feel-good thing, like you don't know enough about me.
Well, that's all in the mix, yeah. That can be in that mix. It's all about whatever the version is, I'm special. I mean, the other side of it, rather than elevating themselves, I'm special might be, we haven't got the legislative power to do that, or we haven't got the people with the right credentials to do that. So that's still a version of what we're special, because we haven't got that.
Yep.
So we're still making ourselves special. So the thing about them is that all the zinger testimonials at the Grand Reserve won't make one iota of difference to influencing these guys.
That's very interesting.
It is very interesting. And that's why many believe, and I'm one of them, that I actually do believe these guys are the hardest group to influence.
Well, they're claiming irrelevance, right? And you have to be able to overcome the fact that they don't think what you're going to say has any relevance to what they do, the world they live in.
That, but at the end of the day, they're special. Even on, that can sit in that, but still, we're special. I'm different.
That's a tough one.
So what do we do about them, I hear you ask? Well, the answer lies within the taste test.
The taste test?
The taste test.
Talk me through the taste test.
I'll talk you through the taste test. Well, in my own neighbourhood, just recently, a new Harris Farms just opened up. And almost every other day I've noticed they're always luring me in and enticing me to take the taste test.
Oh, yes?
Yeah. So if you can picture this, Daniel, You go to your local supermarket and there's a snack on the counter trial.
Oh, yes.
You know the one?
Yep.
And
Can't walk past those.
Yeah, and they're all offering you to try the latest cappuccino chai chip combination. And you go, oh my God, yuck, there's no way I'll like that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they give you the little morsel and then, well, what do you know? Cappuccino chai chips do work. They do work for me. Yeah, so this is the trick here. So to your point you were talking to me before around the proof of the pie may well be in the pudding or the pie, but when it comes to it won't work on me, the proof of the pie is in the tasting. It's all about giving them a taste. So basically, what's your version of the snack on the counter, the free demo, the trial, the test drive, your take-home puppy for the weekend that they can't resist?
Take home for the weekend.
No, this is the thing.
Oh, yes. Well, that's a great example, really.
No. So, because this is what the psychology behind the psychology of small wins and quick results is all about. So you've got to give them a quick result up front so they can win beforehand. So you can hear them saying, well, what do you know? This does work for me.
Maybe it does work for me.
Yeah, maybe this does work for me. So that's the critical thing.
Yep.
But also bear in mind, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, that also no matter what you do sometimes, no matter how many tastes you give them, there's always going to be those individuals out there who aren't going to believe it. Remember my side-of-land bias?
Yes.
Beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yes.
And people just want to believe what they want to believe. So for these guys, just let them go and release them and bless them to be on their way. And for you, just remember, never teach a duck to sing. It's a waste of time and it annoys the duck. All right. Moving on to the next one. You got that one down?
Yes. Yeah, I got that one down.
Good, Daniel. Okay, never teach a duck, it's a waste of time. So that's it, won't work on me. The next one up is, it's too hard. So your stakeholder says, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to focus on first. Yeah, it's all too difficult, it's all too hard.
Well, that's a very common one we get.
And that's the one you started with.
Yep, yep.
One of the ones you mentioned. And so it seems like we all want results, but it's also fair to say we don't always want to put in the hard work to get them, yeah?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
We don't want to put in the stress and strain and go through the pain and hardship to do what it takes to get what we want, to get the result. And, you know, so marketers have always known about this for a long time. They've always used this, this double bind inside of ourselves to their own advantage. To give you an example, just a few months back, I saw a brilliant ad for Detox Manuka honey, and it was all about how to look younger naturally. You know the one I mean, Dan?
No, I don't.
You don't know the one, do you?
Look younger naturally.
Yeah, didn't think you would. That's fine.
But we're talking about honey, right?
We're talking about Detox honey. The ad was for to look younger naturally. But the doozy headline was, to connect to what we're talking about, the facelift without the surgery.
Ah, yes.
The facelift without the surgery. The plumps and firms without the sting, which I thought it was brilliant. Yeah. I mean, the fact is that many of us would rather lose 15 kilos of belly fat while still picking out at Hungry Jack's.
That's
yeah?
right.
Yeah.
We want the gains without the pains.
That. And this is what the path of least resistance is all about, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yet, bizarrely enough, how to handle the too hard resistance in the scheme of things is kind of relatively easy. And it's relatively easy, though, providing you remember to do one really important thing.
And what is that?
You want to know what that really important thing is?
I do.
Yeah. And the really important thing to remember is that the payoff is in the pathway. The payoff is in the pathway. So you've got to give them the roadmap. You've got to give them the concrete plan. You must show them the pathway. So the next time you encounter the it's too hard resistance, just ask yourself these three fundamental questions. Have you shown them promised land and give them a bigger vision of why it's so important for them to achieve this? But secondly, have you given them a picture or drawn a diagram or a model or a framework that shows exactly the step-by-step pathway on how they're going to get there? So they can see themselves walking on the path. And here's the key part, with as little friction as possible. So they can see the transformation at the beginning, at the end, and at every step of the process.
Right. So when someone tells you it's too hard, it really is a how question that you need to address. These are the steps we're going to take to get to the end point.
Yeah, because then you're showing them, hang on, it's not as hard as you think it was.
That's right.
You're showing them that roadmap, that pathway.
That payoff is in the pathway.
Yeah, so that's those two things. Show them the promised land, show them the pathway. But the third, and also not last, but really critical step is also make sure you make the first steps so simple and easy that they don't need to think about them.
Got it.
Yeah? So remember ambiguity aversion at the start, an ambiguous and blurred mind says no. So you've got to make those first steps really, really simple and easy, maybe even fun, so they can see themselves stepping on the path and then staying on the path. Yeah? I think it was...
Makes total sense.
It makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I think it was Henry Ford who said something like, nothing is particularly difficult when you break it down to small jobs. Nothing is particularly difficult when you break it down to small jobs.
Yeah.
All right, next one up is, well, one we all know, Daniel. You're all familiar with probably, it costs too much.
Budget cuts.
Yes, yes.
We've all heard that one before.
Yeah, we've all heard that.
We don't have the budget.
Yeah.
We haven't budgeted for it.
Yeah, we haven't got the budget. Yep, we can't afford it. I like your funding proposal. But
Who's going to pay for it?
Who's going to pay?
Yeah.
But also you got to remember, cost isn't just about money though, is it?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. You took the
really?
words right out of my mouth. It's
Really?
not always about the dollar value
No.
that people are concerned about when it comes
No,
to a
so-
cost objection.
yeah. So cost can also be about time, resources, energy, effort, and so on. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the good thing to get here is that you've got to get them on cost, off cost, and onto value. I'll say that again. The good thing to get is you've got to get them off cost and onto value. The better thing to get is, until they understand your value, you have a worthless solution or service.
True.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And the best thing to get is, and if you're going to write down just one thing in this webcast today, write this one down. The best thing to get is that value doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Value does not exist
Value
in a vacuum.
doesn't exist in a vacuum. So to get them off cost and onto value, you've got to create contrast.
And how do you create contrast, Rick?
Well, I'll just say one again. I know, a good question. You've got to create contrast because your stakeholder or your colleague won't know how impactful your big idea or your concept or your service is until you compare it to something else. So that's
right.
why you must create contrast. So good question.
Yep.
What was it again?
How do you create contrast?
How do you create contrast? Well, there's a lot of ways to create contrast, but probably the two main ways are, one way is to chunk things down into smaller gambits or a smaller bite-sized number. Mm-hmm. So back to our example at the start, maybe they say, your funding proposal is too expensive, we can't afford that. So you might say, yeah, look, I understand that that might sound like a big number to you, but if you break it down into something over 6 months, it really just comes out to the same amount as hiring a new full-time employee for 6 months.
Yep.
Now, is that something you can afford? Or you might say, if you break down over 6 months, this comes out to the price of a cup of coffee today.
Right.
Yeah, so that's breaking it down to a smaller number to create the contrast. Another version might be, they might say, we haven't got the bandwidth to do this. Remember, cost isn't also just about money. So you say, yes, I appreciate that this might be a bit of a stretch for you, but if you break it down over 6 months, it really just comes out the equivalent of an extra hour a week per team member per week. Now, is that something you can afford to free up?
Yeah.
So trading the contrast again. Or the other way around it is you might choose to chunk up and take it to a broader category and create a bigger number. And that one might be like, look, I don't know whether or not that's a big number for you or not, but what I do know is that it would cost us 10 times as much if we were to outsource it out to some big hitter consultants or research institution, but not near as good a result.
Yeah, which has been a bit of a trend in government recently.
Yes, that's right. Well, and trends come and go, but that's it. But the point to get around that one is it's more you chunk up the number and create the contrast around, hey, hang on, getting a good deal here.
Yep. And the important thing to remember is because the value is in the eye of the beholder, and the value doesn't exist in a vacuum, which is why you have to create these comparisons.
Good. Yeah, you're ahead of the game on this one. Yeah. So, well, that is the important thing. And then the second important thing to get is, of course, which I'm talking about, you've got to do your homework for them and show them what the true cost is and why, what you're talking about is the best option for them. When you've done your homework for them and you've shown how trust and value outweighs the cost, they'll usually have no hesitation in saying yes. Yeah? How are we going for the time there, Jenna?
Oh, we're going great for time. It's maybe 17 to the hour.
Yeah, so
we've still got a bit of time.
Got time to do the others?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the next suggestion is pretty funny because it's I can wait. I can wait to continue with the presentation, Rick.
Oh, you are so good. You know, guys, well, this guy's going to be the host of the Government Business Skills series. Really, really, really good. All right. The next one up is, I can wait. Now, would you admit that we all rationalise from time to time why you can get around to doing something later and now it's not the right time? I mean, we all do this. So they might believe your agenda and what you're talking about is really good and they're keen to progress it, but they think they can get around to doing it later. Yeah, so that's basically the version of I can wait. So, and they might have reasons like we can't do it this financial year, or the minister won't sign on if it's so close to an election, or we need to get back some background research first before we'll say yes. Yeah? So they're all versions of I can wait. But back to basics, I can wait is all about, the question to ask is, can they really afford to wait? And is time really on their side?
Those are two really good questions to be asking.
They're back in your head. Can they really afford to wait? And is time really on their side? Yeah. I mean, if I was to tell you, Daniel, that this afternoon, all the service stations in town were about to shut up shop for 2 weeks. Don't you think you'd hightail it over there straight away and fill up your tank?
That or top up my Opal card and just make sure I go on public transport.
Yeah.
But either way, yes, I would make plans immediately.
You wouldn't put off filling up your tank straight away, would you?
No, not at all.
Exactly. So likewise, the question becomes, how can you create the relevant context and compulsion and urgency they need to convince them to act now?
Yeah.
And not when they get back the background research, and not in the new financial year, and not after the election, but now.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge here.
I've got a question here. I might wait till the end to ask it, and it's to do with intentions of, or like being forceful with, like if I've got an issue that I think is pretty urgent and this needs putting out, where do I draw the line between me being forceful and imposing upon you to say, hey, this is the deadline we're working to, I need you to step out of that way of thinking, versus where's the respectful boundary where I'm not being imposing and I'm just asking a respectful, challenging question?
The short answer, real quick, that's a style choice question. And generally what style you choose to adopt in any interaction depends on the context and the outcomes you want to achieve. So in the I can wait bit, back to our point, have they really got time to wait? That's the context.
Got it.
So it's two things around whatever style you choose, providing you've got the flexibility to do them.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, it makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you help them to act now? So if you're with me a couple of months back, you'd seen me sitting on a rock in the Lane Cove National Park, and I was exhausted and energised after just completing a couple of hour walk. And in my hand, I had this tasty wrap that I was just about to devour. And it was at that point I noticed I wasn't alone. And I noticed that circling around me was a group of water dragons that had been sitting on the rocks by the creek. And as you do, I gazed at how cute the little critters were and marvelled at how au natural and idyllic a scene it was. Lucky me.
Yeah.
And then just like in one of the dinos, or the dinos, in one of the Jurassic Park movie franchise scenes, the leader of the pack, the big alpha, suddenly started sorting towards me, Daniel. And the face-off was on. And it was at that moment, while I was wondering whether to, what was going to happen next, in an instant it leapt forward and bit off a sizable chunk of the wrap that I was just about to munch on. So as you can imagine, I was a bit gobsmacked, and I was really glad it was the wrap that was for lunch and not me. But after the blitzkrieg had subsided, it struck me and it reflected me on Jennings and Horton's famous adage that in work and life these days, it's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow.
The fast that eats the slow.
Yeah, so these days at work and life, it's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow. So the thing is, whether it's Borders losing to Amazon or MySpace losing to Facebook or the recent revolving spate of Australian Prime Ministers trying to outlast losing news polls,
Yes.
the list goes on of people and organisations and governments who thought they had time to wait and they didn't, and it turned out badly for them.
Speaking of thinking they had time, we're apparently scheduled for a 45-minute webcast, not an hour. So we're actually about a couple of minutes over time at the moment. So we might have to speed up the rest of the presentation.
Okay, that's what I was...
Yeah.
Now, how do we handle this I can wait piece? So let's just speed it up. So essentially, so I can wait real quick, shake them out of their complacency and sway them that... with your own relevant examples of what you're doing will work for them. Throw in a few metaphors if you like the slow and steady win the race, or a stitch in time saves 9, or big, it's not the big to eat the slow, it's the fast to eat the small. So that's I can wait.
Yep.
Real quick, the one we started at the start, I need to ask permission.
Yes.
In every organisation, there's rules and guides and protocols to stop people from acting independently and making decisions all by themselves.
Especially in government. I'm only level 3, step 1. What am I going to do?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Who am I to, make a decision and act alone? But yes, also would you agree that sometimes the need for third-party authorisation is also a pretext to palm you off? And it also can be a valid excuse to stop people from taking initiatives and making decisions all by themselves.
Yeah.
And so if you agree with these first two, then you might also agree that when it comes to I need to ask permission, sometimes you've just got to get people to see that it's okay to act now and they can make a decision without permission and still stay safe and sound.
Yep.
So that's what that one's all about.
Yep.
I mean, if you think about an investigative journalist for a moment, I mean, think about how much skill and nous and sensitivity they need to have to persuade their prospective whistleblowers to break ranks, and act by themselves. And basically, real quick, haven't we all had moments in our own lives where in an instant we've dropped our safety and asked for permission needs straight away? So you especially see this in emergency escalations and unravelling high-stakes situations.
Yep.
I mean, imagine if you're at the traffic lights and across the road in the traffic lights, at the school playground, there's a traffic warden with your child. Just as the light goes green, you see Godzilla suddenly looming up behind your kid. You're not going to wait for the traffic warden to give them permission, are you? You're going to say, run, Forrest, run, immediately.
Yep.
So asking permission, probably 3 things real quick then, is first up, do astutely read between the lines and make sure they're doing it for the right reasons, not just your reasons. And then secondly, do show them how the consequences of action is outweighed by the consequences of inaction. And if you're with someone who making decisions doesn't come naturally, show them sometimes that you've got to be willing to stick your neck out a little, because sometimes staying in the shadows and keeping a low profile can be a really big mistake.
Yep.
Okay, so...
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Rick.
That's so basically
That's pretty much all we've got time for today. I know you had a lot more that you'd like to cover, but the good news also for our audience is that you are offering the first 5 people to contact us a free consultation session where you're able to help reframe some of the influence challenges using the 3 roadblocks and the 6 common...
And the predictable pushbacks. It's more specifically going into a lot more detail we have today on your specific influencing a hot potato or hot button you might be experiencing right now.
That's right. Well, thank you very much. That does bring us to the end of the program today. Remember to get in touch with Rick using the button in the bottom right-hand corner of your webcast player if you do want to take advantage of the free consultation. Rick Gilmore from Good Company Coaching, pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Daniel, and you do really, really well on, and congratulations on the inaugural launch. And thanks for everything, guys, and just remember, you cannot not influence, and until next time, be who you're meant to become.
That's right. And today's program will be made available for viewing on demand along with the slides. And we'll be in touch with you via email in the next couple of days with all of the details. Thank you very much for joining us across this great country of ours. We'll see you again for the next Government Business Skills webinar. And until then, goodbye for now.
See you later, guys.